This episode of Cape Ann Today is brought to you by The Building Center, setting the standard for quality and service since 1903. Welcome back. It's another edition of Cape Ann Today with Erika Brown, the publisher and editor of The Cricket, talking all things Manchester by the Sea and Essex. Welcome back, Erika, and happy spring.
I know. Doesn't it make you feel good?
Yeah, it does for sure. Oh, so we've noticed that people are starting to get together again.
Yeah, I kind of have noticed that. I don't know if you guys have, but
well, you and Kory get together. You guys got together last week and had a great time.
This is true.
Well, we did tease it that it was going to be a great time, which was Kory spoke, was the featured speaker at the spring lecture series for the Manchester Historical Museum. And it was a packed house at the Sacred Heart Parish Hall to see Kory and hear Kory give his presentation about the Booth family. And it was so awesome. A lot of people showed up. It was flawless.
Yeah, it was a nice night, a really good crowd. It was nice to see so many people come out again. And it was a nice, warm evening too. It just kind of feels like we turned another corner here. So it was a good event. It's a crazy story. A lot of people participated. So I can't wait to do something like that again.
Yeah, and Heather, Kory and I, the night before the presentation, we actually connected with a living Booth relative from Oregon, from the West Coast.
Wow.
That story's not over. We're going to follow up with that.
Yeah. I can tell this story has legs, as they say. Yeah.
Her part of the family landed in Montana. So the Booth family.
Yeah, that Booth family. I mean, they started out infamous and now they're just famous in Manchester.
Yeah. What an interesting story. So that was great, but really that triggered sort of my noticing that it was between that and the Chamber Gala, the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce. I'm sorry, the Greater Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce. Right. Because it includes Ipswich. They had their annual gala or the gala, as I like to say, because I like to sound unsophisticated. But they had their annual gala and at the Beauport Hotel, and it was packed with people, and people were ready to have a good time. It was this 20s theme. We had both the newly former mayor of Gloucester in attendance, along with the new mayor of Gloucester, and they posed together pictures, which I thought was really lovely. I loved seeing that, actually. Yeah. But everyone was really having a good time. It was kind of packed. Then, we have the Cape Ann Symphony is back. That's another one. That was
that's right.
Love them.
And that was a big deal. They had somebody from the Boston Symphony Orchestra stepping in, a violinist, and they also had a composer, a Grammy-oriented composer who composed something, probably appropriately actually, about the time of being shut in with COVID. And it was a piece. It was really beautiful. So that happened, and that was in person, back in IRL, in real life, as the youth say. And then also this week, the Salem Film Festival is happening. I think it's called Salem Film Fest. And that's been going for 15 years, but it's back in person. 47 films, although it's a hybrid model this year. So 27 are going to be in person. And it starts this weekend. And they've got some really interesting documentary films. I think it's the largest documentary film festival in perhaps New England, actually, and maybe even the Northeast. And if it's bigger than that, it's a big deal. And they've got they have one movie that I think I can't wait to see. It's coming up this Saturday, I believe, at the Peabody Essex Museum. They're screening them at 4 places: Endicott College, the Cabot Theater in Boston, in Beverly, the Peabody Essex Museum, and Salem Cinema Salem, which is, I think, in the East India Mall Plaza. I've been there many times. So there's one movie that's interesting, you guys might be interested in, called The Last of the Right Whales. Because that's
it's a huge local issue.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they have there's a full-on documentary film. Another one I want to see is cat dads, the phenomenon of men having relationships with cats. I love that.
Cat people are weird people. Just for the record.
I'm going on principle.
Teasing.
And then one I thought was really cool is called One Pint at a Time. It's playing on Sunday at the Cabot, I believe. And it's about the phenomenon of Black-owned craft breweries and about exploring the idea that people don't, think of craft breweries as a multicultural thing, and they, multiracial thing, and it is. So I can't wait to see that. I think that's really interesting. So I'm just really psyched to be back in person. And then here's one. And Heather, this is for you. Speaking of the chamber, the Business Women's Committee, which is an awesome committee filled with some great ladies, they're going to have their mixer. The last time we did this was 2 years ago before COVID, and it was packed like sardines at the Crow's Nest. It's going to be on April the 7th, I think. Yeah.
My place.
Okay.
First round of shots on Heather.
I hear Gavin Newsom.
Oh, that's it.
Yes, Heather Atwood was known to say something really inappropriate about Gavin Newsom at the Crow's Nest one time. Yeah.
That's right. It was a big hit.
Exactly. Actually, it was totally appropriate for Gavin Newsom. It just wasn't appropriate to mention his name at the Crow's Nest. That was the problem.
Yeah, not at last call, no.
Well, there's lots of forgiveness at the Crow's Nest.
And that bartender, he never even batted an eye. He looked at his phone, Googled it, and gave me an answer. Yeah. So God bless him.
You know why? Because he's heard it all.
Right.
That's why he didn't bat an eye. Anyway, so it's just sort of back to business. And I'm wondering if that is to use a word that Kory, you like to use. I wonder if that's a foreshadowing of the exuberance we're going to feel this summer.
Well, Erika, I was going to ask because I know Gloucester and Rockport have started to announce what spring and summer events are back on again. I mean, the big one is St. Peter's Fiesta. I'm sure the Horribles Parade is going to follow suit. Any word on Manchester and Essex events? Manchester
is a thumbs up for fireworks and the parade and all that. So that's a big one, actually, a really big one. So that's probably the biggest one in terms of something that's been shut off where people are just really excited. So big fireworks display. I'll bet everyone does fireworks this year. Yeah, we know Rockport's on for August 13th. I know that much. And I'm sure Gloucester's going to have it going on too. So yeah, it feels good. Feels good right now. Fingers crossed, right? So before we go, Erika, do you want to touch upon the latest on police accreditation at all? Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff happening locally in both towns, but a lot of them are continuation of things we've talked about. But I wanted to give a shout out to both Manchester and Essex, and I think Gloucester as well, because it was 3 years ago in 2019 that Ed Connolly, it was actually 2018, when Ed Connolly was the chief of police in Manchester before he moved to Gloucester. He came from Chelsea and he said, we should be accredited. This town should have accreditation, which was a very, very difficult, rigorous task at the time. It was almost unthinkable for a town like Manchester or Essex to do it. Manchester and Essex both did it. Paul Francis over in Essex and Todd Fitzgerald was in charge for Manchester of making it happen. Of course, Todd Fitzgerald is now the chief of police. But we got accreditation, and at the time, it was before police reform. It was very hard to get, and less than 10% of the municipalities in Massachusetts had accreditation. Both towns got it, and then Gloucester followed suit. So they both got reaccredited. But now in a world where police training is mandated, and police reform, whatever that means, is happening, it's less of a thing because accreditation basically means you're already trained to be progressive and to have the right protocols and to do all these things. But they just got reaccredited, and I think it's really fantastic news. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good news as always, Erika. We will catch you next week. Enjoy the spring.
Yes.
In Manchester, yeah?
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.